All right, what's going on, everybody? It is Sunday, July 9th, 2023, technically the 10th, going into Monday. And we have a good weekend ahead of us. There was a lot of stuff going on last week, bunch of news. We had NFP, we had July 4th, we had a lot of things going on, but we ended the week last week in a positive, a lot of momentum and a lot of setups happened. And I'm excited to see what we have going on this week as well. So let's get right to it and see what's available. See if there's a signature trade matched up. See if anything's setting up for the tonight, going in tomorrow. Let's dive right in. So let's go to USD CAD. All right. So just based off what I'm seeing right here, I do like this push down. We had a change of character. Right. So let's have a little look around real quick. Okay. 4 hour, big push down. The daily. So although this was a push down or on the 1 hour, 4 hour, the way it's setting up is like a pullback on the daily, which is what we were looking for last week for it to pull back up. And it did exactly that. And the question is, what's it want to do moving forward? Does it want to keep going up? Does it want to shoot back down? Just how I'm looking at structure points at the moment, it definitely seems like it wants to go right back down because it broke levels down to here. As you can see, clear change of character, pull back into the 50 and the 200 EMA. The only thing I don't notice at the moment is some hidden divergence here, which is not always needed, but could always be used. Now, let me see. You got a trend line moving across here. So that's an area that it could potentially push up to further if it decided to. Now, let's say it did, right? And that means this would be the peak, and then this would be the pullback zone. So if this was going to go up, it's going to go up to about the 61.8 area or the 786. So we got to see what this wants to do in a lower time frame before we continue. Okay, so we have another trend line here. Right, so it's maintaining it. Clear as day. 1, 2, 3 hits it. We do have breaks to the up to the high. And he breaks here, change of character, pull back, bounce off the trend line. So I mean, it's stuck. So I think it may want to continue up just one more day. I don't notice any crazy hidden divergence here. There is some, with this peak here and going forward, I think it's all wanting to continue up, at least for the day. Um, could shoot down one more time just to kind of hit that 500 EMA. Look at it, broke right through it, bounced back. All the EMAs are getting tight though, so we have the 800, the 50, the 200, the 500, and the 13 all just right on top of each other, which means either consolidation moving forward or this is getting ready for a big move. Now we have clear as day. Uh, what is it? Hidden divergence. Let me see what it looks like on the 4 hour again. So it wasn't the 4 hour that we're looking. 1 hour for sure is showing signs of it. So we got this peak down here, which is not as low as the peak that's currently being used. So this actually might want to go up. This is exactly what we would be looking for. Now it didn't bounce off the 50, which is okay. It can bounce off the 200. There has to be other confluences. So we have this low, the peak, pull back to this 61.8. Now would have been a good time for an entry potentially. If you're going to hold it, um, let me look at the on top of a support and a 4 hour support. So that usually this is all telltale signs of me looking for continuations up. And on top of that, look at that big push down. It's going to fill that right back up. And we have imbalances all over the place. So right up top. So that's an imbalance. Probably a supply and demand zone too. If we go to the 15-minute, we got a supply and demand zone right here. We have the order block up top. I think it wants to shoot up towards here tonight. So prepare. I think we're bullish on USD CAD. I'm not I'm not seeing a continued drop. I'm gonna put buy. So we're looking for buys tonight on UCAD. Now, let's see how we go moving forward. Let me hold on to this. 1 second, guys. I'm looking at my charts on the phone. And then this one, you can pop, fast forward if you want to. Okay, let's go to the next pair. Euro USD. Now, it's kind of like the same thing as USD CAD, right? Because USD CAD had the big push down and wants to pull back. I'm thinking the same thing here, guys. So let's go to Euro USD, Euro NZD, GBPY, AUD. Go to this. Okay. So it hit just like the 4 hour on USD CAD. It's hitting that support or the resistance on the 4 hour and on the 1 hour. So we have definite confirmation there. It's in a consolidation. It bounced off the 50. There was no hidden divergence there. It was a continued rise up for the 4 hour. Bounced off that trend line. I think this thing wants to pull right back down again, guys. I think we'll be seeing it drop overall, which is what I like to see. And then we'll pull it back, wait for it to drop or to continue back up. 1 second. Okay. Now, where does it want to pull back to? We have recent structure here on the 4 hour. That's 27 pips. I think it's going to go down a little bit farther though. 1 hour. Let's see. Don't have any hidden divergence here, but I know it wants to fill in these gaps. So we're going to see it look for a drop. I'm just going to say we're bearish tonight. There's a lot of confidence there, at least in my eyes, just from what I've been able to just articulate from this. It's too simple. Now, if this is going to drop again and we wanted to pull back up, let's say this does want to continue up, right? Let's say we wanted to rise. Oh, look at that. We had hidden divergence here on the 1 hour last week. So that starts here at the peak. And then, oh, no, that's not from here. Sorry. From there to here, 61.8. Now let's say we go from here to this peak. We want to see it drop down to at least this support. So if we zoom in, you'll see that's 4 hour support right on the 61.8 or 1 hour support. Right on the 50. So we got potential zones. Definitely want to see this thing drop though, so we can have a solid day. Now let's go to gold. Gold is one of the pairs that doesn't actually follow my signature trade, but it does follow when you draw a peak and you think it's going to drop or rise. It usually does do a solid 61.8 retracement. Like it sticks to it. It's crazy. So let me see where we're at. Bounce off that. Bounce off multiple resistance zones, and it bounced off the 500 in 1 hour. That's all telltale signs for me to look for sells. And it's a peak formation low, which is not what we want, but I think this thing is going to continue down. Just how it's shaping up. Let me go to the daily, see what other confluences we have. Sorry for all of this. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Do I have it on this one? Yeah, I do. Okay. Let me delete these so I can see. All right, so we have a trend line moving here. 1, 2, 3, 4 reactions, not that bad. So if it does shoot up, it could shoot up a little bit more and then drop. On the 4 hour, EMAs are really tight, giving me the impression that this thing wants to just stay in a range. So when the EMAs get that tight, we're looking for ranges, guys. So if it does do anything, we could see it go like this, right? Or it could go up a little bit higher, hit that 200 EMA, and then we could see it drop. The EMAs are too tight. It's right in the 800 and the 50. So I'm going to say let's hold off on this. Let's hold off on gold for now. There is definitely going to be entries. It's just stuck in a range. So if you're going to do anything, buy low, sell high, obviously, but in range of markets, you definitely want to see. I mean, it didn't even break this high right here. So that tells me that this wants to drop a little bit further, especially after yesterday or Friday's NFP. So let's look for potential zones to buy again once it drops. And I don't have a problem with that peak formation low. Just be careful though, because on the daily, it is still a downtrend, right? We are still seeing a downtrend. So it could be bouncing in between these EMAs. Remember how it bounced up here on the daily? It went from the 50 EMA down to the 200, literally wicked it. I think it's going to go back up in that direction to retest that 50 EMA for it to come back down again in range. So it typically doesn't do that. Let me see if there's anything on previous, like here you go, right? Broke to the 50, 200, 50, 200, and then broke through. Bounce between the EMAs went from the 50 to the 800 back up. Here, broke the 50, came back, touched the 200, came back to the 50, then broke through. So it's definitely got proven history. Look at this, between the 50 and the 200. The zone on this one's a little bit smaller, but as you can see, every single time price breaks through the 50 and goes down to the 200, it bounces in between over and over and over again throughout history. Even here, it's not this clean, but it's definitely there. So that's where my mind is at with all this. We're going to see it do the same exact thing. Gonna bounce, it bounced down, it's gonna go up, hit that 200 or the 50, and then drop back down. So look for just look for that to shoot up a little bit more, and then we'll look for the sells once it shoots up higher. Right. So move on. We got GBPNZD. I think this is one of the pairs we had for a buy last week. Okay. Yeah, this was. So we had this for a buy during New York session. I didn't take this trade, I was in other trades, and it ended up dropping down perfectly to go in line with the hidden divergence. And well, actually, it could have been down to here, but it was perfect right there. And it bounced down to the 61.8 and went right back up to the recent high. So that was perfect setup. Now it's about seeing what's it going to do tonight, because that peak formation low is still there. But yep, so 2-day peak formation low. I think it would. My initial thought process was I was going to pull back and then shoot up to retest this trend line, which still seems. So let's stick to that. I'd say stick with the way it's going. I don't see it dropping at the moment. And when it hits that zone up here, we'll see. Probably got to fill an imbalance somewhere. So yeah, there's an imbalance up here. Touched it, came back down, retouched this one. I think it's going to continue up. Let's see. Got a change of character. Let me see if there's any supply in a minute. Like this whole zone up here. You notice this, something that I'm going to be going over in the free trainings. This whole area is a supply and demand. Right? So look at when prices started shooting down, you had all these days of ranging. That whole zone is accumulation, right? So it wants to go back into that zone to go get all that trapped money that's right there. And it just so happens to line up with that trend line. So I'm going to say we're bullish on GBPNZD tonight. It just makes a lot of sense off of that. And it's matching with that overall hidden divergence too that we saw in the 1 hour. Let me go to the daily. Yep, so we have hidden divergence here as well, which is cool. It didn't go down and hit that 50 yet, which kind of has me thinking that once it shoots up and hits that trend line for a retest, that's when we're going to see it drop back down again and really hit that 50. And it's either going to break through it a little bit, which GBP pairs tend to do. They don't just bounce right off of the 50 line to a T and go. They tend to break through it a little bit and then reverse. Now I can show you that too right here. Look, hits the 50, goes past it a little bit. Hits the 50, goes past it a little bit. Every time it ever touches the 50 EMA, it never wicks it. It's always going past it a little bit. It never just hits it. Um, so that's my guess is that we're going to see this thing push up a little bit more for false move week beginning going into Monday, and then come the middle of the week or Tuesday, we'll see this thing drop. All right, so let's go to AUD USD 2-day peak formation low. AUD USD. All right, what are we dealing with? 4 hour. Let's see where these support zones are. All right, so it just bounced off the 4 hour support. Wants to shoot up to that 800, which matches the 4 hour resistance. That's clean. Let me go to the daily. Sorry, there's a lot of lines here. I've been back testing, and every single line you see here is just it's a win based on the strategy that I look for. And this is only one pair, right? So I'm gonna be doing a whole training on this, showing you guys what I look for. This is happening on one pair in this short amount of time. This is only a few months. And what's happening on all the other pairs at the same time. I can catch one solid trade a night based off what I look for. So let's see. It is consolidating in the middle. It's got the tight EMAs. It's already hitting the 50. Now it could continue down, but based off what I'm seeing, it doesn't really have any solid direction. It's stuck in the middle. I don't really like where it's at on the daily. Granted that obviously the higher time frames move slower, we can still capture some movement on the 4 hour. Still not bad. So it's hitting the 200 EMA right as we speak, but it did a pullback candle. So it pushed up really hard. Did a pullback candle, which tells me that it wants to continue up, but doesn't always mean it's going to go up right now. This could drop a little bit more to fill in this gap right here, right? Because you have a big push on a big candle, and every time you get that, you get a pullback. There's an imbalance that it's touching as we speak. I think it's going to drop a little bit farther though, just due to the fact that sometimes these pairs don't always just retrace. But I think it's going to pull back just a little bit farther, and then we can find a solid entry on this. I mean, if it doesn't pull back, I do believe for sure this thing is going to continue up. So I'm going to say, and let me see actually. Let's say it does drop. We'd be looking for an entry on the 50 EMA, which would also line up on the 200, meaning this would be our entry for the start, not the entry, but there, going up. We'd want to see it pull back to at least the 50. When big moves happen like this, they don't tend to move back with the 61.8. They tend to hit the 50, which is perfect. That's still fine. And it also lines up with, you see that little support there, that green line? That's a support zone. So it clearly lines up. And now we just got to wait and see what it does. Um, yeah, I'm going to hold off on this pair. I'm going to wait for it to do a bigger move, and then we'll go from there. Now let's go to NZDJPY peak formation high 2 days ago. NZDCHF. All right. Go to the 4 hour. Formation high was set 2 days ago, so it's up here. Seems valid at first. Didn't have any serious breaks of structure. I changed character on there. That's small. Go to the daily. Wicks to the high. Bounced off the 50. Is it hidden divergence? Nope. It's a continued divergence. It broke through this trend line. trend line zone, not just the trend line, but the whole zone of it, which encapsulated multiple entries. Let me go back to the 1 hour now, put on some support resistance zones. The cheap didn't want that play out. It actually, did it play out? Yeah, we had a sell on this. I didn't sell this pair, but if you look, pull back, hit that 50 retracement, and it dropped all the way down to the recent low, which is a setup. I think this is going to be perfect. Now, well, obviously it worked out. Sorry, I was speaking in the past. So, peak formation high, does it want to continue though? That's the real question. EMAs are tight. It went up, it filled in some of the gaps, retested the resistance structure. Did it have a significant breakdown here though? Not really. I would be careful this pair. It's just stuck in the middle. I don't really have any solid setup for it. I mean, most it could do is go right back up, retest the 50 again, and drop, but it's not really clear. This isn't my signature trade. It already happened, so I'm going to leave this one go, or leave this one alone. Now let's go to Euro NZD, peak formation low 2 days ago. Euro NZD. Let's see, let's go to the daily real quick. Again, doing back test on pairs. Notice a lot of Asian session pairs do really well. High volatility pairs, not so much, at least at the moment. Okay, so we have a clear uptrend, but it broke. It's retesting right now. Sorry if you can't see this. This is not always going to be the best look. If I go to the 4 hour, it'll look a little cleaner. So it had a trend line going from here, multiple actually, right? So it came up 1, 2, 3, 4 reactions, right? So clearly this is a solid trend line for price action. And this one too, you got 1, 2. I could probably make this a little bit cleaner so that it matches exactly what we have going. Right about there, right? So you got multiple reactions, hits. Doesn't have to be to a T perfect. Reacting off that zone. So the most we could see, and on top of that too, it's still maintaining the hidden divergence. So this actually could be a delay. Now it's either going to be two things. It's either going to continue up for a push to the 786, maybe a retest of it, and then a drop, or because this is the pair I actually got in last week. I took this for a sell. My initial take profit was to this support. But I got a little ballsy and I said, hey, it's actually going to drop down to this trend line area where there is other imbalances. So I missed out on that. I broke even and I lost a trade that I took a re-entry on right about here. So this pair is also kind of in the middle. It's not my favorite setup. It's really close to the EMAs are all tight. It has trend lines riding right on top of it, stuck in between two. I want to see it break through one of these, right? I don't want to take a premature entry. So I'm going to hold off on Euro NZD until we have some clear direction moving for us. I think if it does decide to break up, we're going to see this push up. It'll break the structure. It'll pull back down, and I'll have some other Fibonacci sequence set up for that. Or it's going to shoot up and come back down and just kind of consolidate until it forms enough lows and highs and lows and highs until we have a major breakout. So might not touch this pair this week. We'll see. Now let's go to Euro AUD. Euro AUD. All right, the daily. Bounce off that 50, barely. I think it wants to retest it a little bit. No real clear direction here. Had a change of character, so that means it pulled back. And now this could push up, and we see what we see on the daily here is a pullback candle. So we have a big bullish engulfing push to the high, bearish going down, but it didn't really take out the low, and now we could see a continuation. Now it's just a matter of, is it going to drop first before we get that real pullback, or is it going to continue? Now, We did hit some hidden divergence here based on the 1 hour. This isn't right on the 4 hour, doesn't look as clean. Let me go down to the 1 hour. So we have the hidden divergence based off of this peak. This one work. This one could technically work too. So if I go down and move this right here, then this was only a hit down to the 38.2, which someone could have entered in on and grabbed it to the top and obviously made some money with it. But I think there's still a bigger push that's going to be happening. Let me see if there's any hidden regular divergence. It didn't hit that. Price is consolidating. This price might not actually do what we want to yet. I want to say it's going to continue up because not only did it have a change of character here, but it had change of characters over here, right? So it pushed it up, and there's a big supply zone. I drew this last week, and look what it did. It went right up into it. That red line is resistance. It went right up into that supply. And on top of that, there's 1 hour resistance. No, not 4 hour, but the 1 hour resistance maintained itself. So let me see if there's any like trend lines that it has that it could potentially have. It's two in the middle. Don't like it. All right, so we had a W formation. Don't see any like certain level pushes, right? Because we have a lower low and now we have a higher high, which tells you that it's just going to keep ranging. We don't really have any solid momentum in one direction. If I had to guess, more bullish. I'm not going to take a risk on this trade. I'm going to wait for this thing to play out a little bit more. There's more. I like EURUSD and USDCAD the most right now, to be honest. They are solid. They have big pushes. They got to fill in those gaps. So, like EURUSD for a sell, USDCAD for a buy. Those ones are good. And a couple of you hopped on a little later, which is fine. Now let's go over GJ. I should do more of a back test on this pair, mainly because it's just one of those volatile currency pairs, and let's see how it plays out with the way I look at the market. GBPJPY. All right, let's go to the daily. Clearly, over the last couple of weeks, this thing has been redonkulous. I remember calling it for a bullish move when it was at the peak over here, and I was like, "Nah, it's going to continue up." And it seemed like it stayed on the path, right? So it's definitely due for a pullback. The daily is over, or the weekly, I'm sorry, is overbought, shark fin. It's a matter of it's going to stop on high, then drop. Let's look at the daily. See any price action in the recent history back here if it loads. Oh, we might be hitting some zones that GJ has not touched. Okay, false. Let's see. So this is clear as day a zone right here. Horizontal. This is a clear zone, horizontal, right? Price reacted very well. I'm gonna go back to this side. So it seems like it wants to maybe push up a little bit more. I do expect a pullback though, because this is way overdue for a pullback. You got clear divergence here, going down. Let me see what the Bollinger Bands show. I use those for touches, so I think what this could do is pull back. Oops. See this thing pull back and then continue up a little bit. Not for a clear reversal yet. It's too soon. Let's go to the 4 hour. All right. Okay, so we have a clear break in the 50 EMA, which is great. When price does this, it tends to pull back and then drops again. Now, knowing GJ, it could continue up because there have been, cleaner breaks down, and then it goes right back up again. So I don't want to be too presumptuous. But at the same time, this pair is consolidating more. So this is interesting. Trying to find something in previous history that gives me a cleaner look. I'm not really seeing anything. It's just the EMAs are so fanned out that this thing is way overdue for a pullback. So I'm gonna say, like all the other JPY pairs last week, I didn't look at this pair, wasn't on the radar, but I, I still believe this thing's got to drop. So I'm gonna stick to my gut on that, and I'm gonna say let's look for some sells, and we're gonna be getting some hidden divergence here. If this thing shoots up a little bit higher, which is exactly what I wanted to do, we'll be looking for sells because there's already hidden divergence here, right? So the short-term hidden divergence, let's just say that we're going to make our peak this and then to go down. It's in our 61.8 zone as we speak, but I still think it's a little premature. So I'm going to go based off of this peak, right? Because that's the next one and it's already getting near it. And if it shoots up a little bit higher, it'd be retesting the 50 and shooting past it, just like all the other GBP pairs do. They don't just go right through. I mean, look, past it, past it, past it, breaks past it both ways. It never just bounces. That's one instance where it actually did that in the 1 hour, which is rare. But look at all the other times. Right? So I'm gonna stick with the probability that this thing is gonna shoot up, go past the 50, maybe reach up to the it's either gonna touch the 50 retracement, which at the moment it seems more ideal based on what I look for in the market, but I think it might shoot past it just a little bit or in between the 50 and the 61.8. Right? At that point, that is when I look for my stops. Right? So I'm going to say GJ is definitely bearish, and we're only going to be looking for those moves. That's it. Goes against it, actually. Goes against. Oh, no, it's a peak formation high. So that makes sense. Pull back, stop on high, drop. Level 1. This is a level 1 drop. Clear as day. Now let's go to the next pair, AUDJPY, and then I'm going to do NZDJPY, and we'll call it there. I don't really care about doing all the pairs. We have style pairs tonight, and I'll go over the ones again for the ones that missed it. So we got, shit, I already lost it. AUDJPY. We do AUDJPY. Clear break. We definitely had this thing for a sell last week. I actually posted it on the results tab, and right now it's maintaining this trend line, which is also riding the 50 EMA and maintaining the hidden divergence, right? So I'm going to say continued sell on this, just because it clear break of structure last week, right? This happened on Friday, so now we have a major change of character. Let's go to the 4 hour actually. Watch, this will probably say change of character or break of structure. Most probably break of structure. No, change of character. Look at that. So we have a clear evidence that this thing had a change of character. But now, if we're looking at the 4 hour perspective, it already made its move down multiple times, and now we're in between the 200 and the 50. So ideally, if I'm looking at entry on this time frame, I would want it to pull back, right? So on a higher time frame, 4 hour perspective, I would definitely want to see this thing shoot up. But on the 1 hour that we're currently seeing, it's definitely showing that it wants to continue down. Now, could I be wrong? I could. I think it wants to hit this 800 EMA first in the 1 hour, which is the 4 hour 200, but that's me. And then once it hits it, we can start seeing some of that consolidation that I was talking about before, where it goes up, or goes down, goes back up, retests, and just kind of battles its way between the EMAs to see which side it wants to end up on. Now, if we are going to be basing our entry off of this hidden divergence here, because this is where it started, but I have a new one. If we go down to here, oops, if I go down to here, say this peak, down to this low, then it's already in the 70 or 61.8 zone. But the thing is, that's not where the 50 EMA is. So if this thing decides to shoot up and it hits that 50 EMA and it maintains the hidden divergence, which I can't even say maintains it because it already is hidden divergence. You got the peak for this top right here, and the peak's already way above it. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the entry for it to push up into the zone and then sell it. Now, the only thing I'm also seeing too is look where the 500 SMA is. And if you guys have been paying attention to how I look at the EMAs, I like to look for retests. Now, it broke through this 500, this green line right here, but I think it may want to go up and retest it, which also lines up with that 200 EMA on the 1 hour, which is also the 50 EMA on the 4 hour, giving me an ideal setup for this to end up happening. Now, let's say this ends up being a solid setup on the 4 hour. Where would I want to place my hidden divergence? Well, it's not going to be anywhere over here. It could be this. It could be this peak right here. Now let me draw it up to match it to be where that is. And now we have a zone where if it takes its time getting up there, that 61.8 will eventually line up with where that 50 is. So, I just said that price tends to go past the 50 a little bit. So as the 50 EMA drops and price shoots up, it'll go up, hit the 61.8, shoot past it, hit the 50, maybe a little past that, and then a nice reversal back down to retest this low or lower, right? So I'm gonna be careful in this setup. I think it already had its move. Just we need to see what's going to be the best set. It's either going to continue down tonight. It's either going to hit up here and continue down tonight for a big reversal for the mid of the week, or it's going to continue up tonight for a Tuesday reversal going into Wednesday, Thursday drop all the way back down. So let's just be patient, but definitely wait for it to push up a little bit higher, and then we can look for our entries there. So I'm going to say I don't want to say bullish or bearish. I want to just keep your eye on it. I'd say, yeah, KE, keep your eyes, what was it? Keep eyes on it. KO? I always spelled it weird. Keep eyes on, I'm going to call it Keo, whatever. Keep eyes on. Makes more sense. KO, AJ. Okay. And then I'll do one more. NZDJPY. This pair played out last week. I actually took this one for a nice sell. I took this one for a sell, even though it didn't match up with my fibs. I just saw it for what it was doing on the 50 and the 800. Usually, when the EMAs are close like this, the 50 and 8 and the 800, it doesn't always have that massive pullback that is expected. It kind of has a consolidation. So I took it to a sell. I took it for a little bit lower than the actual low and hit my take profit perfectly. So now it's a matter of, oh, and it broke this trend line. 1, 2, and it looks like it wants to retest it. So this is kind of matching up with AUDJPY as well, where it wants to go up. Look, it had that pullback candle, big engulfing, bearish, slowly bearish, bounce off support. So we're to say we're going to be bullish on NJ tonight. It's probably the same thing for AUDJPY as well, but it's already low. It already broke all these lows. I want to see it pull back to up here where all this resistance is. There's a lot of trapped liquidity. EMAs are up there. It probably lines up beautifully with the 4-hour. Yep. So it broke through that 4-hour 50. I want to see it retest. I want to see it retest. So I'm going to say keep your eyes on NJ because we are going to be looking for a solid sell. Right now, let me see if I can actually draw up any hidden divergences here. Not really anything crazy on the 4-hour. It's too soon. This one makes more sense, at least from here to there. So, I mean, if I have to redraw this, makes sense a little bit. It's either going to be this peak right here, going down to where it's at now. This, right? Or, which also lines up directly with that 61.8 here. So that's pretty cool. Didn't actually pull back to the 50 yet, so shot up high to there. And let's say it was based on this peak over here. This could shoot up a little bit higher. Say it's based off of this one. It lines up with 38.2. Zoom in to this out of the way. So you have this line right here. This 61.8 is for the short time frame, and the 38.2 is for the big one. So now we have like a potential entry zone right here. This is what I want to do. This might be a little bit advanced for some people because it's like, oh, I can't see anything. Oh, I can see everything. Now, this might be a beautiful place for the price to shoot up to, which is the 61.8 and the 38.2 zone. And if it does do that, that's when I'm going to be looking for my sells. All right. So I think that's what we're going to be staying with. It's going to be really easy. Like I said before, we had USD-CAD. I have USD-CAD going up tonight, simply because of what it did last week. You see how big of a drop that is, and it retests this line. It's retesting this imbalance. It's retesting the 200 EMA, which is the 4-hour 50. Like, all of it lines up to continue up, and I think it's going to fill up the gaps to the top here. There's an imbalance right here if you can't see it. So I have buys for that, and then Euro USD is the complete opposite, where I have this thing dropping tonight to fill in some of the support. This line right here, see how it's like a little bit of turquoise instead of green or big blue? I believe that, well, that's because it's mixed with the 4-hour and the 1. So that's a solid zone, and it's a 38.2. So if it does decide to continue up, this is the first place it's going to go to, and then we can look for the potential buys or exits if you do decide to sell. So that's what I'm looking at, and we're going to start this week out great. So I will see you guys next week. I'm going to be doing a free training. So if anybody sees this video before I do that training, which it's on the 9th, I'm doing the training tomorrow on the 10th. And I'm just going to break down the charts the way I look at it, kind of more in depth of this. You guys can ask me questions, just do a free Q&A, and just get a little bit more detail of exactly what it is I look for. Now, I'm only going to do this once. And then if there's any questions moving forward after what it is that I do, that's going to be in the paid program. So you guys can take advantage of this, pick my mind, and hopefully you get something from it. And if you don't and you still need clarity, come and join us inside of AlignedFx. Pay for your membership, get started, because I guarantee if you start coming in and you learn everything that we have here and the methodology that's moving forward, you'll make some money. It's inevitable. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And everyone have a great rest of your week. Peace.